Welcome to Insemination and happy Pride Month. I am so excited to introduce you to our next guest is donor conceived, and I hold a very, very special place for this donor conceived person in my heart because this was the very first donor conceived person who gave me permission and trusted me with their story for me to tell it on TikTok. So I'm so excited that I have her as a guest on my podcast so that she can tell her story to all of you now. She is going to be going into depth about talking about the medical issues that she has had as a result from the donor conception. So this is a really important episode to listen to, especially if you're a recipient parent. And just a reminder, this week I will be headlining at Catch a Rising Star in Princeton, New Jersey. Get your tickets now. They are available on my website. Also, I got a ton of other shows, so check out my website. All the ticket links are there. I'm going to be in North Carolina beginning of September, but most importantly, July 23rd is my show, Stand Up for Drag, which I am co-producing with the amazing drag queen Gina Tonic, where the whole lineup is stand-up comedians and drag artists raising money for the Drag Story Hour and the Transformation Project. It'll be at the Soho Playhouse at 8 o'clock. Get your tickets today. And now let's get to the episode. And welcome to Insemination, Jamie! I am so excited that you're here.
I'm very excited too.
Yeah, and it is June 2nd, so happy Pride. We are in a wonderful happy Prideful month. Are you doing anything to celebrate Pride this month?
That depends on if the baby is cooperative for Pride.
Fair enough. That, you know what? Celebrating Pride can also just be listening to like some awesome music, and you can have like a little Pride parade in your own home.
Yeah, true.
True. We can just do it that way. Well, thank you, Jamie, so much for coming on. I was actually thinking about this, and I realized when I started doing donor conception stories, like I was originally like on TikTok, on Instagram, like just telling my story. Your story was the first story I told about somebody else. So I'm so excited.
Mine was the first.
Yours was the first.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm so excited that you can be on here on the podcast and you get to tell your story, that you get to do it. And that makes me really excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember like how it happened. Like either you posted your story on like a forum or you reached out to me. I don't remember. But I remember hearing your story for the first time, just going like, oh, this is something that needs to be publicly known.
I think you were like looking for topics for TikTok in the donor conception group.
That's it. And I think I asked, I was like, is anyone willing? Like, does anyone want to share their story? Like, I can do that. And you were like, what's up?
Yeah. I think that's.
I think that was it. So let's get the ball rolling. So you are a sperm donor conceived individual.
Yeah.
What year were you conceived?
I was conceived in 1994, born in 95.
Fabulous. What state?
Oregon.
Do we feel comfortable sharing the clinic or the cryobank's name?
OHSU Andrology.
Andrology.
OHSU, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And has your parents single by choice parent, like what?
My family is a little bit complicated. So at the time, my parent was in a lesbian couple and has now transitioned and remarried, and but at the time, 2 moms.
Okay. How should I refer to your biological parents?
Bio parent that is not donor, just as parent.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that. Okay. So when your parent was going through the process of donor conception, what was that like for them?
They haven't talked very much about what it was like, other than that they saw the profile and thought it looked like a great option. And that I was bought and paid for. That's really the
transaction life. What is up?
Yeah. They loved to tell me as a kid that I was so wanted because I was bought and paid for. Which now they understand was a problematic term. But back then that was a common phrase about how I came into this being, like into this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
To all of our recipient parents, please don't like jingle our price tag in front of our faces.
yeah.
It's not, and tell us how much we were wanted because you just happen, like, don't do that. Don't play that game. It's never going to mentally help us out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know how
No,
much you cost?
I never asked. That would just, I feel like, make me feel worse. So
Hmm.
I never asked.
Yeah.
My guess is quite a bit, even for the 90s, probably a couple $1,000 at least.
Yeah. I joke with my parents because my parents I can't even begin to imagine how much they spent to have me because it was 3 years. There were 2 surgeries. There was hormonal treatments for 3 years. I've asked my mom how many times you tried to do donations, and she was like, I don't know, somewhere in the double digits. So I mean, I am platinum apparently. So I
Yeah.
joke with them that I'm by now I talk about my conception so much that I'm slowly making the money that they spent to have me. I'm slowly making the money back. And I'm like, there you guys go. It's full circle.
That is fantastic.
So they saw the donor profile. We're like, that's what they liked. Was there anything about the donor profile that spoke to them, or just it seemed reasonable enough?
I know that they liked that it said that he went to school for studying science.
Okay.
But honestly, since I have seen the donor profile, there's not much there to like. Like, I think of the options, it was probably the least empty. Uh,
What's on your donor profile? Because I don't have a donor profile, so I'm like, oh, you have a donor profile. What does it say?
I haven't looked at it in a few years because I locked out of the email that has it,
Hmm.
and they haven't emailed me a new one, even though I asked multiple times.
Weird
But
that they're not
yeah,
like following through. That's so strange at a
yeah,
clinic. What would that would
yeah.
ever happen? Yeah,
But
that's
it had
odd.
his like height, weight, eye color, hair color, and that he was like English Scottish.
Okay.
And then it had a couple small snippets of information.
Hmm.
One that said he was studying botany and biology.
Hmm.
Um, and then one saying that there was a maternal great great grandmother that had 3 sets of twins, which was not accurate.
Which was not accurate. Okay, I love that. We're gonna put a pin in that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they pick the donor out, you are conceived, you are born, and you have an easy, perfect, no problem life. Like everything, you're just skipping through life, right? Like everything is just so awesome and amazing and perfect, and there's no problems, right?
Until I get run over with a freight train of medical issues at 13.
Okay. All right. For a second, I thought you were telling me that you were being hit by a freight train, and I was like,
No,
you got hit by a
no, a freight train of medical issues.
freight train of medical issues. Okay. I mean, I'm still so sorry, but I'm glad you weren't hit by a freight train. Oh my God.
No, no,
Okay. Ah,
sorry. Just trying to.
oh my God. I was about to say this is about to be a very different podcast because I'm like, fuck all the donor conceived shit. You were hit by a freight train and you survived?
No.
How are you not in the Guinness Book of World Records, Jamie? Okay. All right. All right.
Sorry about that.
No, it's totally fine. That's my ADHD coming in of like, Laura, let them finish their sentences. Okay. So, all right, amazing. So you were hit by a freight train of medical issues starting at the age of 13.
Yeah.
Okay, what were those medical issues?
Mainly having a grand mal seizure on the kitchen floor. It's a big one.
That can be terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting up to get a glass of water as my mom was getting ready for work and was talking to her, and then all of a sudden I thought I was back asleep and she was screaming at me.
It's not traumatizing. All right.
Yeah.
Oh my. And there was like was there any kind of like sign or anything that like that this was coming, or just literally like bam, moment hit you?
There, right before I like was really dizzy and I said, "I feel," and then I was down for the count.
Oh my
But I had
god.
also been having like issues as a kid that we didn't realize were seizures. So I had been having them since I was little, just mainly in my sleep. So no one knew.
What can you tell me more about those?
After a seizure, I would wake up angry and in pain.
Oh my god.
So I'd have mornings where I'd wake up with horrible headache and I was angry and confused. I had dizzy spells off and on throughout my childhood. I had excessive clumsiness, so I got
Oh.
injured a lot, and it was because I was having absent seizures in the middle of doing things.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, so absent,
That's terrifying.
yeah, and that's where you're just missing little snippets of time, but you're not like falling to the ground. And so when I was younger, I was having like 20 or 30 of those in like a couple hours. So I just missed little seconds and not know
Oh my god. That would I mean, I would assume that would be terrifying.
it. Yeah, and when I hit puberty, it started getting a lot worse. And so understanding what was going on was very scary.
May I ask, like, obviously, what was going on through your childhood is scary, it's terrifying, I'm sure that took a lot of, like, energy from your body, like, I'm sure that was a very exhausting thing to be going through.
Yeah,
Did it affect you? I know this is a stupid question, but, like, how much did it affect your daily life?
quite a lot, especially once I was on medication. Because all of the epilepsy medications also double as mood stabilizers.
Mm.
Um, and for a 13-year-old going through puberty, mood stabilizers that are designed for bipolar disorder or severe depression can actually cause those things to kind of like happen if you don't have those things.
Ooh.
So I got severe depression because one, I was dealing with a new medical condition I didn't know how to deal with. I was isolated at home, not able to do things because my parents were so worried about something happening to me if I went and did things.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I was having chronic migraines on top of it. Um, and my meds caused a whole host of side effects just trying to stop the seizures
Oh my
because the
god.
seizures were the greater evil of the two because a seizure can kill you.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's rough, and you were dealing with this at the age of 13, like,
Yeah.
that's a lot for a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but yeah, I had no idea that the medication was also a mood stabilizer,
Yeah.
and throwing that into puberty, like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Ooh.
one I was on for the longest was called Depakote, and it made my weight boomerang. So I lost a bunch of weight and then I gained about 80 pounds.
Oh my god. In what kind
Yeah.
of, like, time period?
Um, Over about a year, I gained 80 pounds.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That oh my god, that would f that's for such a short period of time. I
Hmm.
can't like, oh, that mu I don't know what other word to use, but, like,
Yeah.
that would I know that that would, like, terrify me.
Yeah. And it, for me, it just caused severe depression
Yeah. Oh my
and
god.
PCOS. It also caused PCOS, which is not.
Oh, gee, of course. I would have also assumed that would, like I would assume that would also hurt.
Yeah.
Physically, that would just hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But and it caused how did it cause PCOS?
That was a side effect of the epilepsy medication.
Oh
That
my god.
the one I was on, my doctor didn't mention that it wasn't really great for young women.
Thanks, doctor.
I'd been on it for 5 years when I saw a new doctor who had said I should have never been on it. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole of it can cause permanent fertility issues for young women, possibly, which is
ironic.
Kind of ironic.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's a little ironic. All right.
Considering my distrust and dislike for the fertility industry, I was very grateful to be able to have a child without having to use them.
How old is the baby now?
A little over 4 months.
Oh my goodness! I can't. Well, okay, also, you and I haven't like spoken face to face in a while, and so congratulations on your sweet, beautiful baby. I love when any photos come up of him. He's just so cute, and he's so sweet. But yeah, so congratulations on your baby, and I am very happy for you that you didn't end up needing to use the infertility industry.
Yeah, that was a huge fear.
I'm currently also actively trying to avoid the infertility industry as well. I'm actually struggling with infertility right now in a way. But in a way, because like we caught it quickly enough to where I'm hoping because of course I'm like, please don't make me, I want to stay away from that industry as much as possible. Yeah. I was diagnosed now 2 years ago with a tumor, benign, on my pituitary gland, which is right on the bottom of my brain, right behind my eyes. And it's like this little gland that hangs down, and your pituitary gland controls your adrenals and your thyroid.
Oh.
Yeah. And your thyroid and they kind of control everything, like all hormone, like everything. And since I first got my period when I was 13, my periods have never been normal. Never once in my entire life, ever. I'd skip months. They were always like pretty light. I would never have, like, my cramps would be like nothing, but I would always skip months. And then a couple of years ago, my anxiety spiked. I was suddenly extremely, like, my digestive system was like completely off. I was exhausted. My cholesterol was like out of control. And I was like, when something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was one of those things. And I took an at-home thyroid test, and it showed that some stuff was out. I went to my doctor, and she was amazing. She listened to me, and she was like, we're sending you to the endocrinologist. And then they found the tumor. And the tumor, luckily, it was small enough to where I don't need surgery. Like, thank God we caught it. So right now I'm just on some pretty heavy medication to shrink it, and it's gone now. And now we're on the medication, essentially reboot my system, hopefully. But I am completely, like, the tumor rendered me infertile while the tumor was there. I could not get pregnant with the tumor there. So now, luckily, my husband and I are not ready to conceive. That's our next year adventure. That's 2024. But it was this realization of going like, oh my God, I could have, when we started trying, if I didn't know about this, I could have easily, like, it would have been 3 years getting rid of this goddamn thing. Yeah. Before we had able to conceive. Yeah. And also, fun enough, the tumor is not caused by my paternal side, my donor side, but the hormonal imbalance that I have is from my donor side, which made me not preconceived. What's the right word? It made me likely to get this tumor. Predisposed. Thank you. And so I'm like, well, that was ironic. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, my donor didn't cause me to be on the meds that caused the PCOS. My epilepsy that was from him caused me to go to a neurologist who put me on medication that caused fertility issues.
And this is the part of the story that I would love to get into, because you were diagnosed with epilepsy, and it's a rare form of epilepsy, right?
It's not a rare form. I have generalized epilepsy, but the part that's rare is for it to be genetic. And like it's like super uncommon for it to be genetic.
Okay.
But when I was searching for my donor and whatnot, I found, I think it was 3 or 4 like like cousins in like different areas of distance that were epileptic. And then my donor was also supposedly pulled from the program due to 2 other children having seizures. But that was from the word of mouth of a receptionist at a clinic right after I got diagnosed, who they now say never happened.
Well, so we're gonna say allegedly.
Yeah.
Your parent called, because if I remember correctly, your parent called the clinic up and said, "Hey, my kid just got diagnosed with this, and I just want to like throw this out there to let you guys know."
Yeah, we went in person,
Oh shit.
and my parent like told them at the front desk. And so I remember her saying he was pulled from the program. Like, but I was also recently medicated and fairly out of it.
Okay.
And after like I called to like check up on things, there was like, oh, that never happened. We have no records of that. No records of him being pulled from the program or anything. Um, but I remember her telling my parent that.
And I assume your parent remembers as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just to make sure that everybody understands, you were diagnosed with epilepsy.
Yeah.
You and your parent went into the clinic to be like, "Hey, just FYI, she was
Yeah.
just diagnosed with epilepsy. Just want to let you know." And they said, "Oh, we already pulled the donor because other kids were diagnosed with epilepsy as well."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
They said he was pulled from the program a month before I was born.
and uh, and I know the answer to this. Did the clinic happen to, I don't know, call other of the donor conceived families from that donor to be like, "Hey, yo, just FYI, maybe keep an eye out for this"?
No, they did not.
No, they did not. That's so weird. That's so strange. I have never heard of that happening ever.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. So and again, I know that they said that they didn't do this, but obviously you and your parent both witnessed this happening, and
Yeah.
I'm going to believe you and your parent because
Yeah.
we've seen this kind of activity from other clinics and cryobanks as well.
Yeah.
Um it's and legally, and here's the thing, legally the clinics and cryobanks do not have to update you. They don't
No.
have to. Now, ethically, yeah, you'd think they would.
Yeah. You'd hope.
You'd
Like,
hope.
especially since our parents are paying so much money for us.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like
I
you'd
mean,
expect at least a little common sense to like help them keep their product healthy.
yes, we're very fancy products. We're fancy babies.
Yeah, medically expensive.
We're very expensive. Then I must ask, with your particular diagnosis, and would it have helped you to have gotten that information about the epilepsy earlier on in life? Because apparently they knew right before you were born. Would that
Yeah.
information have helped you out, or would it have been essentially the same trajectory anyway?
I could have gotten an EEG when I was much younger, so they could have scanned my brain, and saw that my neurons were misfiring back then because I was having seizures likely as young as 5.
Oh my God. Now, would it have helped you to have gone on medication earlier, or would that have changed your care plan? Um,
I
or would
don't
it
know
have been?
I don't know whether I would have been on medication earlier because um they probably would have. They do tend to give children medication, just a lot less.
Mm,
But my parents could have also like monitored me, put me in a safer bed because I was falling out of bed all the time.
oh my God.
Um, and so it was because I was having seizures and falling out of bed.
Yeah.
So they could have made things safer in general. I could have also gotten a little bit more help with school. Um,
How did
when
it
I
affect
start
school?
because when you have absent seizures, when you have lots of them and somebody's teaching, you miss little snippets of what they're saying.
Course. Oh, duh.
And
That makes so much oh god, that makes so much sense. Okay, of course.
that that plus like the confusion that would come sometimes, and missing school because of headaches.
Yeah.
Um, just multiple different reasons that I struggled with school a lot.
Oh my god, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Okay, yeah. Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you must have missed I mean, you were saying you had what, 7 gaps in your timeline, like, per hour. I can't imagine that, like, what
Yeah,
the effects that would have on, like, learning.
yeah. Like my freshman year of high school, I failed every single class and had to
Oh
take
my
summer
god.
school every year for through high school to be able
Oh
to
my
graduate on time.
oh my god, that's horrible.
Yeah. So
I'm
freshman year,
so
I
sorry.
also missed 3 months of school, due to I had a migraine so bad that I was hospitalized multiple times, because the migraine didn't go away for almost 4.5, 5 months.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I am so sorry. That is really I mean, that's rough for, like, anybody go through, but especially, like, as a kid. Like, that
Yeah.
is awful that you went through that at that young age.
Yeah.
And again, the clinic, allegedly, I know they're not they're backtracking a bit on that one,
Yeah.
but the fact that they had that information
Yeah.
and you could have been that is so upsetting. And with how
Yeah.
much impact that had on your life.
Yeah. It had they said something sooner, I could have gotten regulated onto meds at a younger age, um, and had a treatment plan in place before I hit puberty, which is when puberty is a really hard time for people with epilepsy because hormones have a huge impact on seizures.
Oh,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense. Oh my god. Well, and I can't imagine like, and I'm not. And if this is a question you can't answer, that's totally okay. But I would. But I have had experience with oh my god, what's the right with mood stabilizers. Not me, but somebody else I know very close was on them. I would assume, and because it does take your body like some time to adjust to these medications. So the fact that we're throwing a mood stabilizer on right as you're going through puberty,
yeah, it's
that
not.
doesn't and I mean, I know going on these kinds of medications, like there's always a kind of an adjustment period, but to specifically throw it on at puberty does sound like a particularly awful concoction.
Yeah, it was intensely not fun. Um,
Yeah.
it it led to a lot of teenage angst.
Yeah. 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 Ooh, ooh. How bad were we hitting the hot topic?
Oh, quite badly, and
Were
fighting with people online.
were we a Zanga or a live journal person?
Those neither of those sound familiar.
They may have been more of my time because I'm a little older than you, so maybe those were
Yeah.
more my. So then, what was where were you fighting people online?
I was, fighting recipient parents in the big Facebook group.
You know what? You know what? Sometimes you gotta self medicate, okay? And that's
Yeah,
the way you gotta do it. Sometimes is
yeah. Yeah, from the time I was, like, 14 when I first got Facebook to the time I was, like, 18, like, if you look back through the comments, I'm in there a lot.
I you know what? But we do you know what? But sometimes we need that energy, and sometimes self healing involves a little bit of fire.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's just what happens.
yeah.
Um. Oh my god. Oh, now I want to know what groups. Are you blocked from any of them?
I don't think so, because I was very careful to not use any offensive wording, even though
Mm,
they took offense to it.
mm,
But it was like the big Facebook group that has like for recipient parents and
yeah.
donor conceived people, like the big one that
Oh, okay.
caused.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I, I mean, there have been some very, I mean, I will say there have been things that I have said where I'm not trying to offend recipient parents. Like I'm just actively trying to like give helpful information. And I say very apparently offensive things. Uh,
Yeah, that happened a lot.
I mean, in my at this it's going to be a couple podcasts ago, I was talking to a recipient parent, and they were referring to their child's donor as their child's genetic parent, and I'm like, the fact that you as a recipient parent are like just doing this naturally is incredible.
Yeah.
Because whenever like I've been online and I'm like, it's your child's biological parent, like apparently me just saying that is offensive, and I'm like,
Yeah.
science people, this isn't offensive, this is what it is.
It's reality.
It's a reality. Woo, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Uh, oh my, oh God. Okay. No, I love that. So then how are you now?
I am doing much better. I have been seizure free since I was 19. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am on a medication that does not make me hate my existence.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Makes it so I am a lot more functionable. I have been seizure free long enough that I can drive.
Oh
Um,
my God. Yes.
though if I have like anything that starts to be like it could go anywhere near seizure territory, I stop driving for a little bit just to make sure, because I wouldn't want to be responsible for that happening
Yeah,
on the road. And if I
of
were to
course.
have a seizure, I'd have to stop driving for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, okay, but that is so awesome now that
Yeah,
you have the tools available to you. You
yeah,
know your body well enough.
yeah.
I have a family member who has grand mal seizures as well, hasn't had them in I think it's been 20 years, but used to get them.
That's awesome.
Yes, we're very excited for him. And but he knows like it's why he takes like his sleep so seriously, because if he's overtired, that is one of
Yeah,
the triggers,
that is a huge trigger.
which I'm sure is
And
not getting triggered at all with a 4-month-old.
I will say I have this weird energy now post baby that like I don't know where it came from, but I do not need as much sleep as I did.
I love postmortem hormones.
Postpartum, not
Postpartum,
postmortem.
God, oh fuck, wrong word. Oh man, me in my malaprop self. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
postpartum. Yeah. Yep. I'm a stand-up comedian because I can say words correctly. Yeah. So you're yes, I love postpartum hormones. Oh my gosh. Yeah, not postmortem, guys. Not we're and we would. I don't know. Maybe we would have a very dark sense of humor if we were laughing this
Yeah.
much if it was postmortem. But yes, no,
Yeah.
postpartum.
I'm
Um,
not a member of the undead, I promise.
that would be. I mean, if you were though, this would immediately become the coolest podcast though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be like, yes, we are first interview with a zombie. Thank you so much. But the fact that you are doing so well right now, also, it does make me feel like you could have been in the space that you are now in, hypothetically, in high school.
Yeah.
And
Ha-
because of the
had we
time,
done all the trial and error and figured out younger what worked best for me.
this would be a question, and I don't know if you have the answer to it, and if you don't know, but can you genetically test for epilepsy?
My neurologist has said no.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, it's just kind of a wait and see kind of thing. But you can, like, at a very young age, you can do the electrodes and stuff like that, to test for it, like medically, but genetically, no. So I don't know, like, where in the genetic markers it shows up and
So
whatnot. I don't know that.
doing their genetic panel with the donors, like this is not something that they're going to be testing for.
No, there's really no way to know other than hope for an accurate medical history, and that if something comes up, be honest and tell the parents.
Now, you mentioned before that there was something on your donor profile that wasn't accurate.
Yes.
How much of your donor profile was accurate then?
From what I can tell, the height, hair color, and all that was accurate.
Cool.
There was very limited information on the donor profile. The main thing that was not accurate was the maternal grandmother having 3 sets of twins.
That's such a weird lie.
I'm guessing they just mushed 2 profiles together on accident somehow.
Have you met your donor?
I have talked to him on Facebook. I have never met him. He was polite enough to give me updated medical history, and to not block me on Facebook.
Yay! Thank you.
But other than that, he doesn't really want to communicate with me. That's pretty obvious, but like I can see his Facebook profile picture, so at least I know what he looks like. But I had asked him about the 3 sets of twins, and he had no idea what I was talking about.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, even though in my search for him, I was searching high and low for any sort of ancestry thing about a woman with 3 sets of twins. Like, I wanted to know about her because that was cool.
That is cool. Like, that's a badass woman right there.
And yeah,
you're
she's
making an army.
Yeah, and she's just not real. He had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's there's so many donor conceived people who end up finding their donor later on and just find out like, oh, my donor profile or what was communicated to my parents about my donor was absolutely false.
Yeah. It had his like height and hair color and all that right, and that he went to school for science. But there was also very, very, very little information. It was just like height, weight, blood type, eye color, and then the 2 snippets of fun information.
Now, I know this sounds like a dumb question, but was he aware that epilepsy, that he was a carrier for it, or
he was not?
He was not aware.
No. It was on, from what I can tell, it was on his biological father's side that like the cousins had it and whatnot. And he did not know his biological father had passed away. That's how estranged that they were.
Okay, so
yeah, I actually told him that my grandfather was dead.
Okay, so just again, I really want the recipient parents to really be hearing this one. Your donor, how do you want me to refer to your bio parent, biological father, donor? What do you prefer?
Donor's fine.
Donor's fine. Cool. So your donor didn't know his paternal's medical history, was estranged from them.
Yeah.
Was still allowed to donate and donated knowing with a fairly serious genetic illness that has certainly, at least, again, I haven't talked to your other donor conceived siblings, but has greatly impacted your life not having that knowledge. Now that you know it, you're able to take care of it, you have a care plan in place, and you're doing great.
Yeah.
But not having that knowledge gravely affected you for like, what, the first 20, 25 years of your life?
The first 20.
First 20 years of your life gravely affected you. And he was allowed to donate.
Yeah.
And was allowed to donate. And there were elements of the donor profile that weren't even accurate.
Yep.
That isn't illegal. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And again, parents, like, I need you to understand that donor profile, I know it looks all shiny and cute and stuff. And this was in the 90s. This wasn't long ago.
Yeah, it's just a pretty piece of paper to like sell you something that you don't even get what you're buying. It's like the wish of people.
Yeah. And just a reminder, because are you still in Oregon?
Yeah.
Oregon has not passed the fertility fraud legislation. So they're allowed to switch out the chosen donor parent DNA for their own or any other DNA that they feel like. So please understand that you don't have that kind of protection in Oregon. The only state that has a sibling cap is Colorado, but that law hasn't even gone into effect yet. So Oregon, no sibling cap. You do not have to verify medical history still in Oregon or anywhere in the United States. New York is actively trying to do that. So Oregon we're pretty loosey-goosey when it comes to donor conception laws.
Plus, I'm fairly certain there's a couple lawsuits in at least my clinic's history.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have to look it up, but I remember finding a couple.
I mean, I know in Oregon there was a donor who actually sued the clinic that he donated to that ended in an NDA. So Oregon's been a hot city, hot state. Jesus Christ, Laura. But it's yeah.
It kind of makes sense, especially the Portland region, considering Portland is known for being incredibly LGBTQ friendly. Mm-hmm. So they try and bring recipient parents here. Because they know that they have a market.
Yeah, but that doesn't actually feel LGBTQ friendly when you're bringing them in to spend a shitload of money, but not actually be doing it safely. It's a money grab. It's not that this isn't you being an ally.
Yeah, no, it's not. They know that they can profit off the community, and they are. And they are profiting at their children's expense. Like they set up booths at Pride here.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. I have seen them at Pride since I was a child because my parents took me to Pride every year.
I'm fine. I'm so fine. I was sent it, but I haven't checked. One of the banks is having a Pride discount month at their cryobank, so they can buy us at a discount. It's so gross. It's so, like, do I think that parents pay way too much money to the infertility industry? Absolutely. I think the cost is outrageously stupid, and it's elitist. It's awful. It's classist. I completely agree with that. But
we also don't want to be on sale babies.
I don't want to be a bargain baby.
What's even worse is they're getting
them off the rack.
What's even worse than the bargain baby, though, is when they decide to do the giveaways. The like enter the contest and the contest babies. Like, I couldn't imagine being like the parent who has to tell their kid, "Oh, I won you in a contest."
Yeah, I won you in a giveaway. Yeah. What a way to commodify your children. Oh my God. It's really sad. It really is. And for so long, the industry was not LGBTQIA plus friendly. Like it wasn't. But then as soon as they were like, oh, we can actually make a lot of money off of this, then they were like, we're LGBTQIA friendly, guys. We're us everywhere. Yeah. Give us your money.
Yeah. And like before the industry was like pretending to like be allies, they enjoyed using Portland a lot because they knew that they had a market here to make a lot of money. Because from what I can tell, people used to travel here.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because Portland is a safe city.
And I love that. I love that is, but the fact that this industry has fully taken advantage of that is really sad.
And gross.
Yeah. I am very curious as more and more people take DNA tests, how many fertility fraud cases pop up in Oregon.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious. Because if that's been like a hotbed of a city, a hotbed of a state, I'm very curious to know how many more stories are going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, either that or how many more medical issues show up.
Yeah, Well, and I mean, if they hid that information from you, how many other pieces of medical information did they hide from did your clinic hide from other donor conceived children, recipient
Yeah.
parents, made incorrect donor profiles?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, is your clinic still in business?
yes, I believe the name has changed, but the clinic is still there.
Oh my god. And again, parents, there's legally there's nothing different than when Jamie was conceived in the state of Oregon. So please be careful. Please understand. Because I have so many people who come into my comment section saying, like, well, they do all these genetic testing on the donors, they do all of this stuff. Um, they make sure that they only get the best. We only use 1% of the donors who apply. And it's like, these are marketing tactics. That doesn't make it truth.
Yeah. And you can't guarantee that they are actually doing the things.
No,
Like,
and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
there's no guarantee that they are doing what they say, and if it suits them, they change up their what they do as they please.
Well, and on top of which, like in your case, your donor didn't do anything malicious in the
No.
least bit. This wasn't him lying. This was just he didn't know.
Yeah.
And instead of the clinic writing down this guy doesn't have half of his medical history, which and allowing him to donate, but at least marking that off in the donor profile. Oh, or not allowing him to donate because it's like if you don't have half of your medical history, we can't do that. Um, it's that that's just that is it's a situation where shit happens. And I think when it comes to genetics, it's like our knowledge on how genetics work is still so primordial. It's so still new.
Yeah.
And we all have to remember that donors, when they donate, are very young. Do you know how old he was when he donated?
I don't know how old he was. I don't know how old he is now. I didn't ask that.
No worries. Hypothetically, he was on the younger side of life.
Yeah. Yeah, he still looks relatively young-ish.
Yeah, and when you're young, typically you have far few health issues. Your parents aren't experiencing as many health issues. But give yourself 10 years, literally 10. If you donate when you're 19, hop to 29, things already are
Yeah.
changing within your own body. Your
Yeah.
parents may have been diagnosed with stuff. Your grandparents have now been like really heavily diagnosed with some stuff. And you're actually seeing, oh, here's my family medical history. And
Yeah.
that donor conceived child has no access to any of it.
No. It's insane that they expect children, because a 19-year-old is not, they're legally an adult, but they're not mentally an adult to give
No.
accurate medical history.
If I was 19 years, I remember being 19. There was no way I could have done that.
No.
There's no way I could have done that. I mean, I'm a donor conceived person. I wouldn't have had half of my medical history anyway. But
Yeah.
I would have like donated going like because we were told like, oh no, he was in perfect health. So I would have put down perfect health.
Yeah. And then all the medical conditions start to appear.
Yeah. And if you're lucky, you have a donor with a conscience who's actively trying to call the clinic and being like, "Yo, this has happened. I was diagnosed with this. My mom was diagnosed with this. Please inform. Please inform the donor conceived children."
Yeah.
And even then, the clinic very most likely will not pass that information on. We have enough donor
No.
conceived people to prove that.
Yeah. Like they aren't going to tell us anything. They don't want to acknowledge us once we're here.
So for you, if there are some young recipient parents here, what advice would you give to those recipient parents who have those donor conceived children? What kind of advice would you want, or who are looking to become recipient parents? What kind of advice would you give to them as somebody who's unfortunately had to pay a really big price for a clinic's negligence?
To use a known donor, or even better, if they can get somebody in their life to donate,
Yeah.
do that. Like, use somebody who can be at least slightly involved in your child's life because it's going to benefit them.
Yeah.
Like, because we didn't even talk about any of the mental side effects of being donor conceived. Like, there's somebody who, if something goes wrong, you can ask them questions about their medical history.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that that person is your child's biological parent. Don't try to erase half of our DNA.
How has being donor conceived affected you emotionally?
Ever since I was little, I wanted to know who he was. It didn't sit right that I didn't know. At like 12, I hacked into my parents' email to find out my donor number from the clinic because they didn't know it. Like, they had it in an email, but they didn't pull it up for me. So I hacked their email just to get my donor number. I started searching online DNA, like online databases, and as soon as I could afford one, I bought a DNA test, and I spent years hyperfixating on finding out who he was because it didn't sit right that I wasn't allowed to know because I didn't sign a contract.
Yeah, I would like to repeat and underline that no donor conceived person ever, ever signed the agreement of anonymity. We do not have to abide by it. The recipient parent certainly does. They signed the contract of anonymity, but the donor conceived person never did. And I am sorry, but it is well ethically within our right to know who our other biological parent is. That is absurd that is hidden from us, that society is like gives us the middle finger whenever we want to know. It's a biological parent. We have
Yeah.
every right to know who they are.
Yeah. And like
Also, the UN agrees with us with that one.
Yeah. And the people who always try and make us feel guilty for wanting answers, like, I didn't agree to this. This was decided before I was even a concept.
Yeah.
Like,
before I was a lump of cells.
My rights were signed away before I existed, before I was a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to play by your rules. Not. It's.
No, please. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's just insane. Plus, on top of that, the fear of how many siblings could I have?
God. How many siblings have you found so far?
I found one.
Okay.
The donor was told that there were 8 confirmed births. I found one. I remember being told that 2 boys had epilepsy, so I could have 10 siblings, could just have one, could have 50. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so hard. And unfortunately, you were made when the sibling pods were ginormous.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're from a clinic, not a cryobank, I do think helps you out for like not having like one of the super giant pods, but still,
yeah.
God.
It's like, and plus from our age, like, is when they told parents to lie, so there's a good chance that any siblings I have don't know.
Yeah.
So I hope to find more, but I also hope not to find too many more.
I know, it's like you want to find it in like the safe zone, which I don't know what even is the safe zone, but like there does seem to be a number like, okay, I can deal with this amount versus like, oh my God, they mass produced me like Tickle Me Elmo. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think anything above 10 is too much.
Yeah, anything above 10 is we're starting to enter into a ridiculous range where it's like you don't no one needs this many siblings. This is insane. No. It's ridiculous. Do you think 10 should be the sibling cap?
Yeah, or at least the family cap. At the bare minimum, the family cap.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the idea of a family cap. What the family cap should be. I sort of like have my dream versus like I call it like my dream cap versus like my negotiation cap. Like I'm willing to negotiate to here, but I have what I would really like.
Some families like want multiple children, so like, and ideally they should have the same donor parent, so at least they have that to bond over. But like, we don't need a bunch of siblings. We don't. Like, it's not healthy. There's too many risks when you don't know who your siblings are.
Yeah, we're sort of playing with that. You know, as I say, let's turn down that banjo music. We don't need that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think it also, and I think that your story really illustrates why recipient parents, in terms of like health, you need to be an incredible advocate for your donor conceived child when they are having health issues, because
Yeah.
that piece of paper, as you said, it's pretty, but it means shit.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not
anything. There's no guarantee it's accurate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have enough information to do anything. Like,
and
the
health
fact that
changes. Like your donor may
yeah,
have been healthy when they donated, but they're not healthy, but maybe they're really struggling right now and you would have
yeah,
no idea.
yeah, the fact that he has blue eyes doesn't help me know whether he was healthy.
Jamie, before we sign off, any final thoughts? Anything that you think is that I haven't asked you yet that you feel like is really important that you want to say, you want to get off your chest, that you, even if it's talking about something else in terms of donor conception?
I think for the most part we've covered everything, but I do want to say thank you for all you've been doing for the donor conceived community, because you are doing amazing work and we see it and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna look down, and your compliment is currently bouncing off me on other parts of the room right now. But thank you. I do. I'm working hard. I'm trying to learn how to accept compliments because I am not good at it. But thank you. That means a lot coming from you. And thank you for not only coming on, but being the first person to trust me with their story. On TikTok. I remember your story did well. Like I think it got like either like 400 or like 600,000 views on TikTok.
I feel like it was a pretty big number. I don't remember what the
It was a big ass number, and it was just like, oh, I remember people were like freaking out. They were like, this is terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just one of a lot of us.
Yeah.
There are
not unique in the least bit.
no. And I am lucky that my condition didn't kill me like other people.
Yeah. I'm very grateful that you are still here, and thank you for telling your story, because I do think your story is something that it is something that other donor conceived people need to be aware of, but especially recipient parents.
Yeah.
And also I think it is a reality that donors need to be aware of, is you need to, like, this is not just a money grab for you. You are making a person that is going to live with the reality of what you did.
Yeah.
This isn't just spring break. This is a full person.
Yeah, you are selling your future biological children.
Yeah. So please do it. If you're going to be a donor, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And doing it solely because you want to pay for your spring break, I'm sorry, but that's not a good reason.
No.
It's not. This is making sentient human beings. Let's be ethical here.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, considering, like, I know a child isn't a child until they're born. Like, they're just a clump of cells, but you are selling those clump of cells with the intent to make a human.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I think that is a very important distinction, that, yeah, no one is, we're not on that side of the, political spectrum. But when you are, and no one here is going to be arguing that your sperm or your egg is a baby, but you are selling it with the intent, with the knowledge that it will become a baby. Like, it's going to be a sentient human being. That is the intent of why you're selling it. You're not selling it for research purposes. You are selling it so that it will become a person, and you will have biological children walking around on this world that are going to have their own emotions and experiences and medical issues that are your biological children. And you do need to think about them in mind.
Yeah. You need to think about the intent of your output.
Yeah. Because it doesn't, and I do know that a lot of the clinics and cryobanks actively want the donors to not think about the kid. They actively don't. And because that serves the clinic and the cryobank. Because when you do start thinking about the ethics, you go, oh shit, maybe do I really want to do this? Like, it does make their job a lot harder, which it should be. Their job should be hard. It should be hard.
It shouldn't be easy to find a donor.
No, it shouldn't be.
Especially egg donors because of the risk it poses to them.
Oh my God, being an egg donor, the amount of physical risk and the amount, at least I will say in the United States, how clinics and cryobanks are showing a lack of care for their egg donors, and the way that they're just being so willy-nilly with their bodies is egregious.
Yeah, and like causing permanent harm. Like in the big group, there's all the egg donors who have talked about permanent damage to their own fertility.
Yeah. Oh my God. And of course the United States is like, well, no research has proven anything is fine. It's like, yeah, because you've not done the research.
Because they don't want to.
They don't want
they don't
to.
want to have they don't want to have to tell the risks.
Yeah, so it's much easier to not do the research because then you don't have else to talk about. There are some doctors who have been doing the research. There are doctors who are trying to put in the time actively. They are, but it is the research that has been done. And I swear, the majority of egg donors that I've personally talked to, the amount of them that have been overstimulated and have had to been rushed to the ER is incredible.
Yeah, like, and they don't warn them that they're gonna that this could happen.
And there's not legislation on how many eggs that you are allowed to take. There's nothing about it, and it's really, really horrible. Yet they're on TikTok doing dances, going like, "Give us your eggs, and you can buy handbags." Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, because their future biological children and their fertility is worth a handbag.
It's worth a handbag. Yeah, it's worth a handbag. But I do think that people are starting to question and realize that like something is off here. Because certainly with like clinics and cryobanks, maybe you don't fully agree with what I'm saying. Maybe you're not. Maybe there's things about what I'm saying that you just don't agree with. Okay, but I need you to think about if a clinic and cryobank, and which is normal practice for clinics and cryobanks, they're setting up pop tents on college campuses. They are going in and speaking in lecture halls. They're actively going after college students and saying, pay for your textbooks, pay for your spring break. Do you think this sounds like a good ethical tactic? Does that sound ethical to you? Does that sound like somebody who has these kids' best interest in mind? Does that sound good?
Sounds like they're trying to profit off of youth and someone who doesn't quite have the capacity to make the informed decision.
Yeah, and again, it's nothing against my 18, 19-year-old, 20, 21-year-olds. It's like, it's not nothing against you, but it's like there's just no way understanding what your medical history is, understanding how to advocate for yourself medically, that's typically not something you're going to have experience with dealing with at that age, unless you've had just very unique experiences in your life. Also, there's just so many things that you can't get diagnosed with until you're typically over the age of 25.
Yeah. And what's even worse with is if any of those college students are donor conceived and don't know it.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh God. Which I have spoken to donor conceived people who are recipient parents who didn't know that they were donor conceived until I know, right? And then they found out there was and then they find out that they're donor conceived like afterwards, and I'm like, and like, because they're terrified. They're like, am I pregnant with my donor's child? Am I pregnant with my donor's child? And they're terrified.
Yeah,
they get pregnant with their half brothers, half sisters.
They'll save the sperm for years and years.
Can't sperm like exist frozen for like 50 years is what they've decided, what they've found? It's like 50 years. It's like some insane.
I have no idea how long, but like they're not gonna throw away something that can make the money.
No, they're not gonna throw it away. They will use it for as long as they can. Yeah, no, I can understand that absolute fear of going, oh shit, I have no idea if this is a relative, and realizing it and suddenly dealing with like all of the consequences of everybody's act. But I can't. Yeah, that's terrifying. I would be terrified if I was a recipient parent who just found out that their donor conceived as well.
Yeah.
It'd be terrifying. Did I give birth to my sibling? Oh my God.
Yeah, like, and considering most parents were encouraged to lie to their children in the early 90s. Like
early 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It didn't doctors didn't start changing their tune until somewhere in the 2000s.
Yeah, probably like 2010.
I think so. I think that's when things started shifting a little bit. That's also 2010 is when the majority of recipient parents were LGBTQIA+. Because before 2010, it was mainly like heterosexual couples.
Yeah. And
so 2010 was a big year of change.
Yeah. So the amount of people, we have no idea how many donor conceived people are out there. So there's a good chance that they're out there donating.
Oh, easily. There's absolutely donor conceived people who are donating who have no idea that they're donor conceived, which is a terrifying thought because there's no genetic test for that.
No.
You can't test for that shit.
No.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Jamie, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. And again, thank you for being my very first story on TikTok. Thank you for coming on and speaking so openly about your story, because it's a very good, very phenomenal encapsulation of what can happen. I'm so glad that you're doing well right now. I'm so glad that you got your sweet 4-month-old baby. I love whenever you post pictures of him. Happy Pride. And
Happy Pride to you too.
And I hope that your health continues just onward and upward.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.